Ready to nourish your spirit? Fantastic. As we dive deep into God's Word, we'd love for you to join our growing family. Hit that subscribe button, let us know what resonated in the comments, and share this truth with someone who needs it. Your engagement fuels this mission.
Visions of the Spiritual World by Sadhu Sundar Singh, dated 1926, Chapter 1. Life and Death. Life. There is only one source of life, an infinite and almighty life, whose creative power gave life to all living things. All creatures live in Him, and in Him will they remain forever. Again, this life created innumerable other lives, different in kind, and in the stages of their progress, man is one of these, created in God's own image, that he might ever remain happy in His holy presence. Death. This life may change, but it can never be destroyed, and though the change from one form of existence into another is called death, this never means that death finally ends life, or even that it adds to the life or takes away anything from it. It merely transferred the life from one form of existence to another. A thing that disappears from our sight has not thereby ceased to exist. It reappears, but in another form and state. Man can never be destroyed. Nothing in this whole universe was ever destroyed, nor can it ever be, because the Creator has never created anything for destruction. If He had wished to destroy it, He would never have created it. And if nothing in creation can be destroyed, then how can man be destroyed, who is the crown of creation and the image of his Creator? Can God Himself destroy His own image, or can any other creature do it? Never. If man is not destroyed at death, then at once the question rises, where will man exist after death, and in what state? I shall attempt to give a brief explanation from my own visual experiences, though it is not possible for me to describe all the things which I have seen in visions of the spiritual world, because the language and illustration of this world are inadequate to express these spiritual realities, and the very attempt to reduce to ordinary language the glory of the things seen is likely to result in misunderstanding. I have, therefore, had to eliminate the account of all those subtle spiritual occurrences for which only a spiritual language is adequate, and to take up only a few simple and instructive incidents that will prove profitable to all. And since at some time or other everyone will have to enter into this unseen spiritual world, it will not be without profit if we, to some extent, be familiar with it. End of Chapter 1. Visions of the Spiritual World by Sadhu Sundar Singh, dated 1926. Chapter 2. What happens at death? One day when I was praying alone, I suddenly found myself surrounded by a great concourse of spirit beings, or I might say that as soon as my spiritual eyes were opened, I found myself bowed in the presence of a considerable company of saints and angels. At first, I was somewhat abased when I saw their bright and glorious state, and compared with them my own inferior quality. But I was at once put at ease by their real sympathy and love-inspired friendliness. I had already had the experience of the peace of the presence of God in my life, but the fellowship of these saints added a new and wonderful joy to me as we conversed together. I received from them answers to my questions relating to my difficulties about many problems that puzzled me. My first inquiry was about what happens at the time of dying, and about the state of the soul after death. I said, quote, "We know what happens to us between childhood and old age, but we know nothing of what happens at the time of death or beyond the gates of death. Correct information about it can be known only by those on the other side of death, but they have entered the spiritual world. Can you," I asked, "give us any information about this?" Unquote. To this one of the saints answered, "Death is like sleep. There is no pain in the passing over, except in the case of a few bodily diseases and mental conditions. As an exhausted man is overcome by deep sleep, so comes the sleep of death to man. Death comes so suddenly to many that it is only with great difficulty that they realize they have left the material world and entered this world of spirits. Bewildered by the many new and beautiful things that they see around them, they imagine that they are visiting some country or city of the physical world which they have not seen before. It is only when they have been more fully instructed and realize that their spiritual body is different from their former material body that they allow that they have, in fact, been transferred from the material world to the realm of spirits. Another of the saints who was present gave this further answer to my question. Usually, he said, at the time of death, the body gradually loses its power of feeling. It has no pain, but is simply overcome by a sense of drowsiness. Sometimes in the cases of great weakness or after accident, the spirit departs the body is still unconscious. Then the spirits of those who have lived without thought of or preparation for entering the spiritual world, being thus suddenly transferred into the world of spirits, are extremely bewildered and in a state of great distress at their fate. So, for a considerable period, they have to remain in the lower and darker planes of the intermediate state. The spirits of these lower spheres often greatly harass people in the world, but the only ones that they can injure are those who are like in mind to themselves, who of their own free will open their hearts to entertain them. These evil spirits, by aligning themselves with other evil spirits, will do immense harm to the world were it not that God has appointed innumerable angels everywhere for the protection of his people and of his creation, so that his people are always safe in his keeping. Evil spirits can injure only those in the world who are alike in nature to themselves, and then they can do it only to a limited extent. They can indeed trouble the righteous, but not without God's permission. God sometimes does give to Satan and his angels permission to tempt and persecute his people, that they may emerge from the trial stronger and better, as when he allowed Satan to persecute his servant Job. But from such a trial there is gain rather than loss to the believer. Another of the saints standing by added in reply to my question, many whose lives have not been yielded to God, when about to die, seem to become unconscious. But what actually happens is that when they see the hideous and devilish faces of the evil spirits they have come about them, they become speechless and paralyzed by fear. On the other hand, the dying of a believer is frequently the very opposite of this. He is often extremely happy, for he sees angels and saintly spirits coming to welcome him. Then, too, his loved ones who have died before are permitted to attend his deathbed and to conduct his soul to the spiritual world. On entering the world of spirits, he at once feels at home, for not only are his friends about him, but while in the world he had long been preparing himself for that home by his trust in God and fellowship with him. After that, a fourth saint said, to conduct the souls of men from the world is the work of angels. Usually the Christ reveals himself in the spiritual world to each one in degrees of glory differing in intensity according to the state of each soul's spiritual development. But in some cases he himself comes to a deathbed to welcome his servant, and in love dries his tears and leads him into paradise. As a child born into the world finds everything provided for its wants, so does the soul, on entering the spiritual world, find all its wants supplied. End of chapter 2, having been read by Peter John Paresis. Visions of the Spiritual World by Sadhu Sundar Singh, dated 1926. Chapter 3, The World of Spirits. Once in the course of a conversation, the saints gave me this information. After death, the soul of every human being will enter the world of spirits, and every one, according to the stage of his spiritual growth, will dwell with spirits like in mind and in nature to himself, either in the darkness or in the light of glory. We are assured that no one in the physical body has entered into the spiritual world, except Christ and a few saints whose bodies were transformed into glorious bodies. Yet to some it has been granted that, while still dwelling in the world, they can see the world of spirits and heaven itself, as in 2 Corinthians 12:2, though they themselves cannot tell whether they enter paradise in body or in the spirit. After this conversation, these saints conducted me round and showed me many wonderful things and places. I saw that from all sides, thousands upon thousands of souls were constantly arriving in the world of spirits, and that all were attended by angels. The souls of the good had with them only angels and good spirits who had conducted them from their deathbeds. Evil spirits were not allowed to come near to them, but stood far off and watched. I saw also that there were no good spirits with the souls of the really wicked, but about them were evil spirits who had come with them from their deathbeds, while angels too stood by and prevented the evil spirits from giving free play to the spite of their malicious natures and harassing them. The evil spirits almost immediately led these souls away towards the darkness, for when in the flesh they had consistently allowed evil spirits to influence them for evil, and had willingly permitted themselves to be enticed to all kinds of wickedness. For the angels in no way interfere with the free will of any soul. I saw there also many souls who had lately come into the world of spirits, who were attended by both good and evil spirits as well as by angels. But before long the radical difference of their lives began to assert itself, and they separated themselves, the good in character towards the good, and the evil towards the evil. Sons of light. When the souls of men arrived in the world of spirits, the good at once separate from the evil. In the world all are mixed together, but it is not so in the spiritual world. I have many times seen that when the spirits of the good, the sons of light, enter into the world of spirits, they first of all bathe in the impalpable air-like waters of a crystal clear ocean, and in this they find an intense and exhilarating refreshment. Within these miraculous waters they move about as if in open air, neither are they drowned beneath them nor in the waters wet them, but wonderfully cleansed and refreshed and fully purified, they enter into the world of glory and light, where they will ever remain in the presence of their dear Lord and in the fellowship of innumerable saints and angels. Sons of darkness. How different from these are the souls of those whose lives have been evil, ill at ease in the company of the sons of light, and tormented by the all-revealing light of glory. They struggle to hide themselves in places where their impure and sin-stained natures will not be seen. From the lowest and darkest part of the world of spirits, a black and evil-smelling smoke arises, and in their effort to hide themselves from the light, these sons of darkness rush down and cast themselves headlong into it, and from it their bitter wails of remorse and anguish are heard constantly to arise. But heaven is so arranged that the smoke is not seen, nor are the wails of the anguish heard by the spirits in heaven, unless any of them for some special reason should wish to see the evil plight of those souls in darkness. Death of a child. A little child died of pneumonia, and a party of angels came to conduct his soul to the world of spirits. I wish that his mother could have seen this wonderful sight. Then, instead of weeping, she would have sung with joy, for the angels take care of the little ones with a care and love that no mother ever could show. I heard one of the angels say to another, "See how this child's mother weeps over this short and temporal separation. In a very few years she will be happy again with her child." Then the angels took the child's soul to that beautiful and light-filled part of heaven, which is set apart for children, where they care for them and teach them in all heavenly wisdom until gradually the little ones become like the angels. After some time, this child's mother also died, and her child, who had now become like the angels, came with other angels to welcome the soul of his mother. When he said to her, "Mother, Do you not know me? I am your son Theodore. The mother's heart was flooded with joy, and when they embraced one another, their tears of joy fell like flowers. It was a touching sight. Then as they walked along together, he kept on pointing out and explaining to her the things around them, and during the time appointed for her stay in the intermediate state, he remained with her, and when the period necessary for instruction in that world was completed, he took her with him to the higher sphere where he himself dwelt. There on all sides were wonderful and joyous surroundings, and unnumbered souls of men were there, who in the world had borne all kinds of suffering for the sake of Christ, and in the end had been raised to this glorious place of honor. All around were matchless and exceedingly beautiful mountains, springs, and landscapes, and in the gardens were abundancy of all kinds of sweet fruits and beautiful flowers. Everything the heart could desire was there. Then he said to his mother, in the world which is the dim reflection of this real world, our dear ones are grieving over us. But tell me, is this death or the real life for which every heart yearns? The mother said, Son, this is the true life. If I had known in the world the whole truth about heaven, I would never have grieved over your death. What a pity it is those in the world are so blind. In spite of the fact that Christ has explained quite clearly about the state of glory and that the Gospels again and again tell of this eternal kingdom of the Father, yet not only ignorant people, but many enlightened believers as well, still remain altogether unaware of its glory. May God grant that all may enter into the abiding joy of this place. Death of a philosopher. The soul of a German philosopher entered into the world of spirits and saw from afar the incomparable glory of the spiritual world and the boundless happiness of its people. He was delighted with what he saw, but his stubborn intellectualism stood in the way of entering into it and enjoying its happiness. Instead of admitting that it was real, he argued thus with himself, there is no doubt at all that I see all this, but what proof is there that it has an objective existence and is not some illusion conjured up by my mind? From end to end of all this scene, I will apply the test of logic, philosophy, and science, and then only will I be convinced that it has a reality of its own and is no illusion. Then the angels answered him, it is evident from your speech that your intellectualism has warped your whole nature, for as spiritual and not bodily eyes are needed to see the spiritual world, so spiritual understanding is necessary to comprehend its reality, and not mental exercises in the fundamentals of logic and philosophy. Your science that deals with material facts has been left behind with your physical skull and brain in the world. Here, only that spiritual wisdom is of use which arises out of the fear and love of God. Then said one of the angels to another, what a pity it is that people forget that precious word of our Lord. Except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall in no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven. Matthew chapter 18, verse 3. I asked one of the angels what the end of this man would be, and he replied, if this man's life had been altogether bad, then he would at once have joined the spirits of darkness, but he is not without a moral sense. So, for a very long time he will wander blindly round in the dim light of the lower parts of the intermediate state, and keep on bumping his philosophical head until tired of his foolishness he repents. Then he will be ready to receive the necessary instruction from the angels appointed for the purpose, and when instructed, will be fit to enter into the fuller light of God in the higher sphere. In one sense, the whole of the infinite space, filled as it is with the presence of God, who is spirit, is a spiritual world. In another sense, the world also is a spirit world, for its inhabitants are spirits clothed with human bodies. But there is yet another world of spirits, which is the temporal dwelling place of spirits after they leave the body at death. This is an immediate state, a state between the glory and light of the highest heavens and dimness and darkness of the lowest hells. In it are innumerable places of existence, and the soul is conducted to that place for which its progress in the world has befitted him. They are angels specially appointed to this work, instructed for a time that may be long or short before it goes to join the society of those spirits, good spirits in the greater light or evil spirits in the greater darkness, that are like in nature and in mind to itself. End of chapter 3 had been read by Peter John Paresis. Visions of the Spiritual World by Sadhu Sundar Singh, dated 1926. Chapter 4. Man's Help in Teaching, Now and After. Unseen help. Our relatives and dear ones, and at times the saints as well, often come from the unseen world to help and protect us, but the angels always do. Yet they have never been allowed to make themselves visible to us, except at a few times of very special need. By ways unrecognized by us, they influence us towards holy thoughts and incline us towards God and towards good conduct, and God's Spirit, dwelling in our hearts, completes that work for the perfecting of our spiritual life, which they have been unable to accomplish. The greatness of anyone does not depend upon his knowledge and position, nor by these alone can anyone be great. A man is as great as he can be useful to others, and the usefulness of his life to others depends on his service to them. Hence, in so far as a man can serve others in love, just so far is he great. And the Lord said, "But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your servant." Matthew 20:26. The joy of all those that dwell in heaven is found in this, that they serve one another in love, and thus, fulfilling the object of their lives, they remain forever in the presence of God. The correction of error. When people earnestly desire to live lives pleasing to God, the readjustment of their views and renewal of their lives begin in this world. Not only does the Spirit of God teach them directly, but in the secret chambers of their hearts they are helped by communions with the saints, who, unseen by them, are ever at hand to assist them towards the good. But, as many Christian believers, as well as non-Christian seekers after truth, die while still holding false and partial views of truth, their views are corrected in the world of spirits, provided that they are not obstinately welded to their opinions and are willing to learn, because neither in this world nor in the next does God or any servant of his force a man to believe anything against his will. The manifestation of Christ. I saw in a vision the spirit of an idolater, on reaching the world of spirits, begin at once to search for his God. When the saints said to him, "There is no God here save the one true God and Christ, who is his manifestation." At this, the man was a good deal astonished, but being a sincere seeker after truth, he frankly admitted that he had been in error. He eagerly sought to know the correct view of truth and asked if he might see the Christ. Shortly after this, Christ manifested himself in a dim light to him and to others who had newly arrived in the world of spirits, because at this stage they could not have endured a full exhibition of his glory. For his glory is so surpassing that even angels look on him with difficulty and cover their faces with their wings. Isaiah 6:2. When he does reveal himself to anyone, he takes into account the particular stage of progress to which that soul has attained. So he appears dimly, or in a fuller light of his glory, that the sight of him may be endured. So, when these spirits saw Christ in this dim but attractive light, they were filled with a joy and peace which is beyond our power to describe. Bathed in the rays of his life-giving light, and with the waves of his love, which constantly flow out from him, flowing over them, all their error was washed away. Then, with all their hearts, they acknowledged him as the truth, and found healing, and, bowing in lowly adoration before him, thanked and praised him. And the saints who had been appointed for their instruction also rejoiced over them. A laborer and a doubter. Once I saw in a vision a laboring man arrive in the spiritual world. He was in great distress, for in all his life he had given no thought to anything but earning his daily bread. He had been too busy to think of God or of spiritual things, and at the same time, when he had died, another had also died, who was a doubter, obstinate in his opinions. Both were ordered to remain for a longer period far down in the world of spirits in a place of darkness. In this, being in distress, they began to cry for help. Saints and angels in love and sympathy went to instruct them that they might understand how to become the members of the kingdom of glory and light. But in spite of their distress, like many other spirits, they preferred to remain on in their dark abode, for sin had so warped their whole character and nature that they had doubted everything. They even looked with suspicion on the angels who had come to help them. As I watched, I wondered what their end would be, but when I asked, the only answer I got was from one of the saints who said, "God may have mercy on them." We can form an estimate of the depravity of man's perverted nature from this, that if an evil report about another goes round, even if it is false, a man whose outlook is distorted by sin will at once accept it as true. If, on the other hand, a good and perfectly true report is received, for example, that such and such a man is a devout man, who has done this or that work for the glory of God and for the good of his fellows, then without hesitation, such a hearer will say, "It is all false. So-and-so must have some motive of his own at the back of it all." Should we ask such a man how he knows that the former case is true and the latter false, and what proof he can give, he will not the slightest proof to put forward. All that we can learn from such an attitude of mind is that as his mind is tinted with evil, he believes evil reports because they fit in with his evil nature, and he thinks good reports are lies because they do not fit in with his evil of his heart. By nature, a good man's attitude is the opposite of this. Here he is naturally inclined to doubt an evil report and to believe a good one, because this attitude best fits in with the goodness of his nature. Those who in this world pass their lives in opposition to the will of God will not rest of heart, neither in this world nor in the world to come. But on entering the world of spirits, they will feel bewildered and distressed. But those who in this world are conformed to the will of the Lord will be at peace on reaching the next, and will be filled with unspeakable joy, because here is their eternal home in the kingdom of the Father. End of chapter 4, have been read by Peter John Parisius.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Join our community by subscribing and sharing our videos. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe for more exciting content coming your way.